Dear students, today we will be learning about embryo development in human reproduction. Embryo development involves the development of multicellular embryo from single cell zygote. Further, the embryo develops to fetus. So zygote, which is also known as single cell embryo, and it forms embryo at about 2 weeks, under which the different layers are formed. Then from the embryo, fetus is formed at 9 weeks, and fetus is young developing baby inside womb where all the organs are differentiated and they are visible. So let's go back and discuss the structure of the ovum in the pronucleus stage. So ovum is surrounded by zona pellucida, and there is fertilization membrane, 2 nucleus you can see, male and female, and then there are these granules which are present, and you can see certain follicular cells also. So pronucleus is the stage where you can see 2 different cells in the ovum. Now what will happen? They fuse and form the zygote. So zygote is diploid where 2 nucleus fuse and form the one. You can see zona pellucida over here. Now zygote is in the fertilized ovum. Okay. Now after 24 hours, now this zygote undergo the division, several divisions. Let's see how. After 24 hours of fertilization, the first cleavage, which occurs longitudinally, takes place. And what is cleavage? The repeated mitotic division with very short interphase is called cleavage, where the DNA synthesis occurs but no cytoplasm synthesis is there. And the dividing cells are called blastomers. After 48 hours, that is on second day, second cleavage occurs, and it occurs transversely. So as the cleavage progresses, the nucleus cytoplasm ratio increases. The oxygen consumption is also rapid. Then on the third day, third cleavage and subsequent cleavage occurs, and it results in the formation of a solid mass of cell which is called morula. Here the differentiation occurs among the cells, and cells are divided into 2 different types. The outer one you can see, the outer layer you can see, which is called trophoblast, and inside these cells are called inner mass cells. Now inner mass cells, they forms the embryo later on, so they are called precursor of embryo, whereas the outer cells form trophoblast, and trophoblast have no role in embryo formation. They form extraembryonic fetal membranes such as chorion and amnion. Now on next day, 4th day, it reaches the uterus, and the uterine glands secrete uterine milk, which forms the cavity. Actually this uterine milk, it flows through the trophoblast and the inner cell mass and get accumulated, and this result in the formation of cavity called blastocele. Okay. So in the next stage, the on the 5th day, okay. So after 4th day, on 5th day, the morula changes to blastula. Once the cavity is formed, the morula changes to blastocyst. So in the blastocyst, you can see clearly trophoblast layer, inner cell mass layer. This is also known as hollow ball of cell, and blastocele is there, which is the fluid filled cavity. Trophoblast is also known as blastoderm. The blastocyst further enlarges and pushes the inner mass cell to one side. This results in the formation of embryonic knob. So knob like structure you can see. This is how the inner cells are pushed to one side, and blastocele is there, and this layer of cell is called tropoderm, which is made up of trophoblast. Embryonic knob further give rise to embryo. Then on 7th day, the tropoderm cells secrete lytic enzyme to penetrate endometrium of uterus, and the embryonic knob orient toward the uterus. So let's see. The blastocyst increase in size, digest zona pellucida and adhere itself to uterine wall, that is endometrium of uterus. This is called implantation. So during implantation, the zona pellucida is lost. There is proper orientation of blastocyst, and it implant in the uterine wall. So the egg disrupt the surface of endometrium and burrow deep inside. By 11th day, it is completely embedded. So this embedding process start on 7th day and complete on 11th day. Here you can say inner mass of cells, and these finger-like projections are formed, which are called tropoblastic villi, due to which it find the attachment to the endometrium. Okay, if there is no implantation, then what will happen? Then the blastocyst won't be able to attach to the uterus, and there is no pregnancy. Okay, this is also one of the stage of infertility. So implantation of blastocyst means it leads to pregnancy. Now very important role is played by the hormone over here, progesterone. We have already discussed this. Here we will discuss what is its role in implantation. It plays a key role in the implantation. Number one, it introduces uterine wall to secrete two things, integrin and osteoportin. Both are required for adhesion of embryo to endometrium. Second, it increases blood supply, water content and glycogen secretion in endometrium. Third, it also inhibits muscular contraction in uterine wall that would tend to reject the adhering. So all these conditions are favoring what? That the blastocyst should be attached to the endometrium. In the absence of progesterone, the egg will not be attached to the endometrium. So again, this is a condition of infertility. Now, there is also role of HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin hormone. It maintains the level of progesterone by preventing degeneration of corpus luteum. We know that progesterone is produced by corpus luteum. So corpus luteum has to be there. So HCG hormone, it maintains the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum will continue to produce progesterone throughout the pregnancy, and it helps to keep the endometrium thick and prevent menstruation. So during pregnancy, there is no menstruation. Now on 9th day, what will happen? The inner cells arrange in bilayer embryonic disc, which is made up of epiblast and hypoblast. So you can see this bilayer, or we can say this is bilaminar embryo made up of hypoblast. There is differentiation which occurs in the inner cell mass, and epiblast. Now hypoblast, later on they produce endodermal cells, whereas epiblast forms the ectodermal cells. The next is now the cavity appears between epiblast and inner tropoblast layer, called this cavity is called amniotic cavity. So here you can see the amniotic cavity appears between the ectodermal cells and epiblast. Now this cavity is filled with the amniotic fluid, and the cells surrounding it forms the amniotic membrane later on. So in the later on stages, you can say here the amniotic membrane is formed. Okay, then the disc, embryonic disc is present from where the cells were differentiating. Then later on, these hypoblast forms the primary yolk cells, and inside the amniotic membrane the amniotic fluid is there, and in which the embryo will develop. So you can see the next stage, amniotic sac now is produced. embryo formation occurs where an yolk sac is there, and the outer trophoblast cells now form the chorion, started forming the chorion. On 15th day there is onset of gastrulation. Okay. The bilaminar embryonic disc is converted into trilaminar disc. Now ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, they are formed. The ectoderm later on gave rise to epidermis and central nervous system. Mesoderm gave rise to muscular system, lymphatic system, blood vessels, whereas endoderm gave rise to organs such as liver, stomach, glands, etc. Now let's talk about the extraembryonic membrane. These are the layer enclosing the embryo inside uterus. So there are basically 4 extraembryonic membrane: amnion, chorion, allantois, and yolk sac. First you look at the diagram. Now if you look at the diagram, can you see amnion which surrounds the embryo? Embryo is present inside the embryonic sac which is filled with the fluid. And then allantois is again you can see chorion, and then the allantois is developed from these cells, and you can see yolk sac. Okay, so amnion, chorion, allantois, and yolk sac, these are the let's see what are their functions. Amnion is the innermost layer. It surrounds embryo, act as shock absorber, regulate body temperature, prevent adhesion between fetal skin and surrounding tissues, and prevent desiccation. Chorion is a principal embryonic membrane surround developing embryo, forms placenta. It protects fetus and embryo from immune response of mother. Allantois forms blood vessels that run between the fetus and uterine wall in umbilical cord. It helps in the respiratory exchange of gases, calcium transport, storage of nitrogenous waste by embryo. Umbilical cord, it provides the connection through which the food reaches the fetus and waste are removed. So here in formation of umbilical cord, the allantois and yolk sac plays the role, and it is the connection from the fetus to the placental tissues. Yolk sac, it is a small in case of human and decreases with development. It transfers nutrient to embryo during 4th week. So much role is not there of yolk sac. And now let's look at the diagram again. Okay, so here you can see formation of placenta also. So embryo surrounded by amniotic sac which is filled with the amniotic fluid. Then you can see chorion, you can see allantois, and you can see yolk sac position, and 2 of them forms the umbilical cord which is connection to placenta. So chorionic villi, now they have blood vessels and all, and they have association with the maternal portion of placenta. So placenta, half portion is fetal portion, half portion is maternal portion, and they are associated with tissues and blood capillaries for the exchange of number of things. We'll see what is the function of placenta. First, let's discuss what is gestation. Pregnancy period from conception to birth of the baby in human is called gestation, and it is 9 months in human, around 40 weeks. Now if you look at the gestation period, is divided into 3: first, second, and third trimester. First trimester 1 to 3 months, second 4 to 8 months, third 7 to 9 months. First is associated with the period of rapid cell division and cell differentiation. Second, period of tremendous growth and development. Third, period of growth rather than development. Now placenta is the intimate connection between chorionic villi of embryo and uterine wall of mother. So this connection is called placenta. It is called organ, And function is transportation of nutrients from maternal to fetus, transport of gases, oxygen from mother to fetus, and carbon dioxide from fetus to mother. Removes excretory waste, provide passive immunization to fetus as the antibodies of measles, smallpox, etc. can be passed from the mother to fetus. So if the mother is infected, then her body synthesizes the antibodies, and these antibodies will cross the placenta and reaches to the fetus. So ultimately he or she will get passive immunization. Now it stores the glycogen for embryo. It is a gland also and secretes certain hormones such as HCG and relaxin. We'll see what is parturition. The act of expelling the full-term fetus from mother's uterus at the end of gestation is called parturition. A rhythmic contraction of uterus called labor pains, and these push the fetus out of uterus. Now let's see what are the role of hormones. Estrogen, at the end of gestation, estrogen level increases and this decreases the progesterone. So pregnancy is now over and makes the uterine and muscle sensitive to oxytocin. The oxytocin stimulates contraction of uterine muscles. Relaxin is secreted by placenta and it increases flexibility of pubic symphysis and dilate uterine cervix during labor. Prostaglandin secreted by placenta and it induces production of enzyme for digestion of collagen fiber and cervix. And corticotropin releasing hormone is secreted by placenta toward the end of gestation to establish time of birth. So different hormones actually regulate this process. I'll here briefly discuss the lactation. Production of milk by mammary gland following the birth of young one is called lactation. It occurs under influence of hormone called prolactin. Now mother milk is really good because whatever the milk released just after the birth, it is called colostrum and it is viscous, yellow in color and rich in globulin and low fat. So it is very easy to be very nutritious and easy to be digested by the infant. It contains IgA antibodies, so again it provides the antibodies for passive immunization. So this is all about the embryo development. Thank you.